Keep on this time. Heavy is the head. I see the boat throwing. I'm too forward with it. I gotta keep going. Kobe with the wins. You niggas just Ginobili. You winning only cause of me. Let's keep the ball rolling. No disrespect, Slim. Where is your check, Slim?
Welcome back to another episode of the You Weren't There podcast. I am, of course, your host at Mia Was Here, 5_. And of course, you can always follow the podcast at You Weren't There podcast. Merry Christmas. We're a little late on that, but we're a little early on saying Happy New Year's. I got a few guests with me today. I'm super happy to have them. We're going to start with my co-host, Chaz, and then we're going to move around the circle. Chaz, do your thing.
Yo, what's going on? It's Chaz at Chaz VL, all platforms. Welcome back. Happy holidays, New Year. Let's get it started.
For sure. Nisha?
Indeed. Sorry, I don't even know when to make sure I do this properly. Got it. What up, everybody? I am Nisha Soul. My IG is Nisha Soul Music. Hip hop artist from Washington, D.C., uptown. If anybody's out there watching, good seven. Been at this a long time. Just honored to be here amongst some dope individuals. Yeah, we're gonna chop it up. We here, you know?
For sure. Mella?
What's good? It's your boy Barmello at BARMELO_. Appreciate everybody having me here. It's gonna be a wonderful time. Happy holidays to everyone, man. We're gonna have a good time today.
For sure. And Steven?
What it do? This is Steven X. IG, Twitter handles I am Steven X with 1_. Artist from Northeast DC, longtime fan and supporter of Mia as an artist in many different ways. Appreciate you. I mean, but even still, the streets know what's good if they've been paying attention.
For sure.
Okay.
I'm about to say,
I'm way too old to still be.
I ain't mad at it, but I'm about to say that's how I got tapped in this transition.
I'm getting money now, but that shit over.
Nah, I'm about to say I see the transition. The
transition
was real. It was real strategic. You know what I'm saying? And to see her in this space right now, I'm happy to see her doing the thizzle and appreciate the invite. Like I was on it. You know what I'm saying? When I got that call, it was just like, so when you gonna slide? So I was like, yeah, nice. When you want me there.
I appreciate you. You from Northeast?
Yeah.
What part?
Michigan Park.
I never knew that about you.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
I be in the cut, like being this man Nisho in the same neighborhood off No Funny.
Nah, that's super crazy. I think because like I think being from here so often, and this is like so off topic for the show, but I think like so often it's very easy to say like, well, he's from here, so he's making this kind of music.
Yeah.
And to me, you've taken like maybe one of the more unique directions as far as like what you're creating. So that's interesting to me. Like, this
born and raised Northeast DC, yo.
That's crazy. Okay.
Yes, indeed.
I would have said Columbia, but that's fine. Like, that's fine. And like, no, he making that. Like that shit. I would never. That's beautiful. I hear that kind of shit. Like that's beautiful. That's fire. I love that. So look, man, we're gonna get right into it. I always think it's important to like let people give themselves their flowers, like to kind of discuss their journey and, you know, kind of where it all comes from. Steven, since you was late, we're going to start with your ass. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, he was late, ladies and gentlemen. There was only a couple minutes, but everybody was early today. You know what I'm saying? So it made the nigga look worse.
It's always
we
bad.
It's always bad when they're actually on time. Came in here 15 minutes late. I'll tell everybody. Go ahead and tell us your story. Keep it under 15 minutes if you can.
Funny as hell. All right, so the real skinny of it is I've been creating music and being a part of like productions on the DMV level and slightly a national level now for about like 14 years. If I had to put like a real number on that, started when I was like 17. I just turned 32 on Halloween and shit. Shout out Scorpio babies. Yeah.
Y'all heard it here first. We're not gonna get into why we back in there.
We be outside. We be outside low key, but you know what I'm saying? I've been fortunate enough to where I've been blessed to just with my music and through storytelling and being a journalist as well. I've been fortunate enough to like be connected with a lot of people in a lot of different spaces on the independent and the mainstream level. And at this point right now, it's really just about continuing to be a part of a community that is teaching people the importance of why we need to still have things like this here. and kind of like debunking and destigmatizing all the other stuff that goes into like the really nasty, unethical parts of it that low-key have been showing themselves a lot more this year, a lot more tangible examples of what we don't need to have. So let's just go ahead and do what we're supposed to do. And I like to be a part of that change.
Bless. Okay. Mello, what's your journey looking like?
Man, I just come from, first of all, I know everybody saying it from DC. I'm from Baltimore. I ain't say that in my introductory.
There you go.
I just want everybody to know that. I probably hear my voice, but
yeah, I always got to tell everybody.
I got to. I mean, I come from, I come from struggle, but I don't let it hinder me. You know what I'm saying? And, I was able to break a lot of things that weren't supposed to go my way from my family, being the first one to go to college.
We like to call those generational curses for those that don't know.
Have a career and things like that. So, what really kind of took my life off was going to college and meeting a bunch of different people and meeting, joining a fraternity and meeting my brothers and meeting things like that. College helped me start musically. I tell everybody, I always tell I really ain't I started music because it was a guy I didn't like and I thought I was better at him. You know what I'm saying? So, I played ball. I'm a competitor at nature, you know what I'm saying? So, after school was really just finding a career I liked, in which I now teach and coach, and I did things musically. So my message always is to, no matter where you come from, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And I come from a place where a lot of people don't make it to be as far as I have made it to be, and see the people that I've seen and see the places that I've seen. So my message is always positive and work hard and grind. So, it's a blessing and honor for me to be on, platforms like this with people who think higher and work harder, and appreciate what they do and appreciate other people. So, now it's all about continue to grow, continue to go, continue to be better at everything you can be. And, and may the stars align where they may after that. So That's me. That's who I am. All
right. Nisho, can you top that? Since we're talking about competition.
I started in 2010 when I was in college, similar to what Mello was saying. Just my journey started just being around a lot of like-minded artists. At the time, I didn't even know. I wouldn't necessarily say I had my direction. It was like I want to write, I want to rap. I just love hip hop. I genuinely love hip hop. And coming back here, like 2013, 14, around time I graduated, I'm really seeing. I'm like, okay, I've done my toes like up on mic scene, poetry scene, and literally from there, I really haven't looked back. I've gotten to meet so many incredible people. Literally, I got a story with each one of y'all at some point in my journey, and just in general, like it's been a lot of like seeing what to do, what not to do, like where my craft is applicable, where me being a writer is applicable, where me being a performer is applied in so many things, and I'm like just trying to encapsulate that in 15 minutes is crazy. Well, just overall, like my overall thing has been like going from introverted, trying to find my voice through something I genuinely love in music. Like that's really been my whole journey for real. And I've just been grateful to share a stage with so many dope people, like going from just writing to producing, recording, engineering. We'll do a couple podcasts I engineer for now. And like it's really been a blessing for real. Sit like Mello was saying, Lord, but up for me.
I think you said something very interesting, which is like that you're an introvert, and that you've had to like find your voice in this, which I personally wouldn't have known, and I've known you a long time. I think it's like key to mention, like not everybody involved in a creative venture is like an extrovert or outgoing or like naturally has their voice or walks in knowing what it is they want or what they want to be part of. I think it's important to note that, right? Because I think people like look at people on stages and they look at people in videos and in freestyle competitions and battles and doing all of this, meandering through creativity, and they just assume like they've always had it. Right. And that's not the case. Like you find your voice as you move along. And I think like to me, Rick Ross is probably the greatest example of somebody who like has evolved in like not just like the literal sound of his voice. Right. You listen to Boss and then you listen to like, I don't know, White Lines, for example. Those are two different niggas. Right. And I think like what people don't understand is you like quite literally find your voice as well as like the figurative version of that. Right. You're figuring your way out. Your music evolves. It changes, as does like your persona persona as an artist. So like starting with you, Nisho, like how do you feel like you were able to kind of do that, to like break out of your shell, to become like who you are now, and what does like the evolution look like moving forward?
Ooh.
I know, right? I'm so good at this shit. Like this
hitting them with the hard ones,
Podcast.
the real ones.
I mean, sounds like y'all podcast.
I know, right? This is crazy.
That's kind of crazy.
Turn this into something. Man.
Who knew?
Wait, damn, why am I voicing this shit? It really starts and continues to go from getting out of your comfort zone. Because my big thing was like, and you mentioned this off camera before we got started, like how I've been leaning more into like doing R&B type shit. And I'm sitting here like, okay, the root of what I love is hip hop. Like studied it, came up with all different types of genres of music. Obviously it's gonna incorporate into my shit. And then really realizing like, okay, my technicality comes from hip hop, my song making comes from R&B. Those things as I came along, I started doing more and finding what worked and what didn't work.
Yeah, because that's so much a part of your like what you create. I said that before we even started rolling on the cameras. Like you're being like an R&B head. I hear that in everything that you make.
Yeah, literally, and it's really been recently that I've been embracing that. Yeah, because for the longest time, like I think in my early days, I'm like, technical ability alone is gonna get me to evolve. No. Many people pull me to the side and was like, yo, Mish, like, you got it. It's like, listen to, like, they'll give me examples. It's like listen to Currency, listen to Young Thugs. Like, they'll give me certain songs. I'm like, I get it. It's like, in a lot of things, it ain't what you say, it's how you say it. And that changed my whole shit of how I write, how I perform, everything. And that's, to this day, I still very much practice that. You know what I mean? So I'd say that's what the evolution ended up becoming. Okay, bet.
So, like, when you say, like, technical ability enough is not alone, right? Yeah. I do find that like a lot of artists are very technically sound, but they just like the feel is not there, right? Like the vibe is not there. And it doesn't matter how talented you are. There are millions of talented people. It's 80,000 new songs that come out per day, right? On between like all of the distros.
That's crazy.
So crazy. Cause I remember like maybe 3 years ago, it was like 55,000. And then I checked recently, it's like 80. So
what you mean by technical sound?
I think that there are people who like, they have like a very specific, very noticeable skill set. Right, you can put words together, you put them together very well, but the vibe is not there. It's a lot of songs like he's spitting, but he not really saying nothing.
You can be a good, you can be a good
but
rapper.
I ain't feeling it. Like it's just like
you can be a good rapper, but you can't. You can be a good rapper, but that's not synonymous with being a good songwriter.
Exactly. I would say that about. And I was telling somebody this recently. I feel like, to me, like Lotto is to me not a great composer. And a part of that is because she don't write none of that shit. And so you go in there and you're doing what other people are creating for you. And it's hard to tap in the same way if you're not writing it. But I think like there are people who like, you put songs in front of them and they're good at the technicality of it.
Precisely.
Right? But when I watch Lotto on a stage, I think Lotto is one of the worst performers I've ever seen in my life, honestly. And it's not because it's not because of the fact that like she's not a talented girl. It doesn't really have anything to do with that. But when you don't actually write any of that music, when you're performing, you don't understand.
That's a lack of conviction.
But that to be the focus.
It's a lack of conviction.
I remember I saw her on the BET Awards like 2022, and like for over 3/4 of the song, she wasn't even doing the lyrics because she was so busy shaking her ass. Because that's the thing that she's really good at is the performance, not the music. And that's no shade to her, but that's just the reality of a lot of female artists. Like, because you don't write your own stuff, or because even if you write in your own stuff, you don't connect to how important it is to give a performance of that music. You're focusing on like how it looks, and you think that that's all that matters. Like, I think Kendrick, with his like 5-minute Super Bowl performance that let me know it's going to be one of the performances of the year this year. I think like his integration of like, okay, well, this has to be a clean performance. This is the Super Bowl. But his ability to change all right into something else. That's my favorite version of the song. His like Super Bowl performance, like the West Coast performance, to me is a better version of that song than what I hear on the record, because I connect to that so differently. I think it's important to know like the technical skill is not enough. You gotta be good at all the things.
You gotta be innovative with it.
For sure.
Because it's like, to your point, I think it's important that even if you weren't the person that wrote the song, like having some sort of conversation with the people who are in charge of that process to like get a feel for what it is that they was thinking when they was putting it together is important. Because otherwise, like there is a possibility that you can find a way to create that space where even if you aren't the person that actually wrote the content, that you can deliver it in a meaningful fashion. Because I feel like a good example of that, even though she still kind of suffers from it the same way Lala does a little bit, like Cardi's delivery for most of her music to me is usually pretty solid. You know what I'm saying? Even though we obviously know a lot of times she's not the person that's directly writing a lot of her stuff.
For sure.
But it's like, even in knowing that, when I hear a lot of her stuff, I'm like, oh, okay, Cardi's rapping this, so I know there's going to be a certain level of quality and entertainment to it.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying?
And
where
Cardi's
I can
a good
appreciate
example of like what that looks like from an oppositional standpoint. Somebody who doesn't write a lot of that music, but she's just so good at it.
Yeah.
Like she's not writing none of that shit. So that's what I'm saying. Like you don't need to be writing all of your music for you to be phenomenal at it. Cardi is an amazing performer.
Exactly.
I love watching Cardi live. She been on every award show and she's smoking. She did an award show with Bruno and he did not show her up. And that's hard.
And that's hard because Bruno be in his bag.
When you talk about best performers in music right now, there is a very clear and a very definitive top 3 to me. That's Beyonce and Chris and Bruno, and you can interchange that order whenever you like, depending on the show that they gave you. So that's like, fair. And Chris don't write all his music. He writes a lot of it, but he don't write all his music. Beyonce has writing camps.
Chris is a unicorn, though.
He is a unicorn. But when you talk about top 3 performers, like it's them 3. They smoking shit. And she did a performance with him, and she was like that.
Yeah, Beyonce killed that Christmas performance. When she started off, I was a little skeptical. I'm like,
She started with the vocals,
and she put on a show. And I said this. I said, if it wasn't for Michael Jackson, she might have an argument be the best performer of all time.
Fact.
If it wasn't for her and Chris Brown, I say if it wasn't for Michael Jackson, one of the greatest ever, she would have an argument for best performer of all time.
Absolutely.
Of all time.
No question. And y'all know what's crazy? And I don't hate me, like get out my comments with this shit because I don't want to hear it. I ain't listen to Cowboy Carter. There I said it. I didn't listen to that album. I didn't listen to Cowboy Carter. And I'm sure that it was phenomenal. I'm not knocking any of it, but she made me want to go listen to that album with that performance. It was that good. I hadn't heard it. You know, I heard the songs that everybody heard, you know, the songs that were like popping up on the radio when you know, before your phone connects to the Bluetooth in your car. That was pretty much it for me. But like I saw that performance and thought to myself, nah, I need to go check that out.
Right. So as artists, how do y'all go and put that a part of your show? Do y'all give that any thought, the performance, the production of y'all performance, or y'all just hit the stage and got like, or you know, is that something y'all gonna develop later? You know,
I think that if you're a true artist, I think you have a game plan behind everything you do.
I would hope so.
Because you got to I think it's like writing a movie. Like you have to match and add it up. So you can't just do random things in and out of movie. It has to have an ebb and a flow. But I think like performing wise, I think it really just depends on your music as well. Because my music differs. Like sometimes I can just go put a mic up and just stand in front and rap something that I did, or just go jump up and down. But it also depends on your audience. So it just kind of like you have to plan because it depends on what you're doing, who you writing for, who you performing for, to depend on what you're going to do.
100%.
Joint when he was in Baltimore, he had a nice production. 50 Cent really did up, and that's why now he got a residency in Vegas because he got a production.
And he had one of the biggest tours that year. He was right on par with Taylor Swift that year, who was also still touring in Europe with the Eras tour, which was humongous for obvious reason. So like I think it's important. And I think too, like I remember Jay-Z said years ago, like you rappers be walking back and forth with your hands on your balls thinking that you gave a good performance, and that's not it. And I think that that's important because I think it's easy as a rapper specifically to just stand there and to forget that there's a performance aspect to your music that makes it better. I've seen so many live showcases of music where I liked the live version of those songs better because the performance was so good. And I've seen that from rappers. again, Kendrick's performance at the Super Bowl, to me, he was the performer of the night. And I mean, a part of that is dancers, a part of that is choreography, a part of that is like look and presentation and clothing, and all of those things are factors. But I have seen artists stand on the stage. I remember I went to see the On the Run tour in Baltimore. But
it's a kind of a great place.
I'm just glad with y'all. But for real, I took my mom's birthday. I took her to see On the Run at M&T. And I remember, like, to this moment, like Jay-Z's performance of Song Cry. And it was like legendary to me. And it was just him and the mic. Damn. And I think that's he's gotten so much better over the years. And I remember, like, when Made in America first started, right? So the first Made in America, which was to me one of the best ones, it was Hove. He brought out Ye. At that point in time, Ye was on Good Music, so he brought out John Legend, he brought out Common, he brought out Big Sean, Nicki was there. I mean, it was legendary. And I felt like he got smoked by them niggas. Like, he got smoked by them niggas at his own festival and is on his own stage. And then I saw him doing Song Cry with just him and a mic, and I thought it was one of the best things I've ever seen. So you can grow and evolve as a rapper, like, but you standing there with your hand on your dick for 40 minutes. I don't want to see that shit. Like, I think it's because there's so many people doing it better.
Like, I think it's important that, to your point, you learn how to create something in this totality, because that's the only way that you have real sticking power, for real. And it's like, it's important that even if you an MC, you study the stage presence of other performers from other genres, because like that's how you're able to create the depth and diversity. One of the only reasons why, even though my like actual physical catalog of music is like super like small in terms of like quantitative size, but I still have like such a reasonable impact as far as people considering me for events and shit, is because of the actual performance aspect of what I do. Like, a lot of what I even do as far as releasing music or thinking about the songs that actually make it to the airways is there a way for me to create some sort of performance off of this? Like, am I able to put some sort of live instrumentation with this, or is this mix from the studio going to be something that a DJ could utilize, to where if it's just me and him on an accompaniment and he's spinning it, can we turn this into something where if you never heard it before, you're going to be curious to hear the studio cut, but even if you hear the studio cut, you'll be like, damn, I need to go see him again, because the way that he kicked that live is going to make me want to come back and spin the block on him. Like, there
is a level of theatricality.
It's undervalued.
And to me, that's what separates the good from the great. Like, is like understanding the necessity of theatricality in the performances that you like create. And that's, to me, like, performances are so much a part of the creative process. I felt like I was always somebody who, like, I love the studio, and that was like probably my favorite part of the process. But the second part was always the performances, because, and I think like, especially now, and I say this all the time, like the nature of music has changed so much. So really now, and I say this all the time because I want artists to hear this, I want you to know how true it is. Music is no longer the product. It's the commercial for the product. It's the commercial for the thing that you sell. You don't make any money on music. The system is designed that way. So as a result of that, like, what's going to make you money is touring. Can you go out and initiate a performance and have it be great? So great that if you post this stuff online, people want to come and see it. Whether that's small or big scale. So like, I think it's important to notate like everything that you guys are saying. I think it's so valuable because a lot of artists don't understand that. I don't know if I want to say this because it's so recent.
Do it.
Okay. That didn't take much. All right. So that didn't take much. All right. So I'm gonna say this. And he's probably gonna watch this. So I say this with love and affection, truly. I went to a listening party last night and I was very confused. On a lot of different levels, right? So on the one hand, I hadn't seen this guy in years, right? So I didn't even necessarily know he was still creating music. I got invited to that listening party by someone else who was also a part of that listening party. Let's say they were the second artist on the tier. And you go to the listening party, he got maybe 9 or 10 songs, which aren't bad songs at all, but his back is to us the entire time. The energy is kind of low, and I'm gonna give y'all like kind of all the things because if I was sitting in front of you, these are things that I would tell him.
After that first tidbit, I'm not gonna lie. the lack of engagement off rip that's kind of crazy.
And I'm gonna give all of this because this is what I would hope somebody would tell me in the same situation. The first issue that I have is like your engagement with me, right? So your back is turned to us for most of this. Come on, Mello. What we say about what we say about that shit, man?
You told me text somebody. You told me text somebody. Taking off D&D.
This is what I'm talking about, man. It's like, nah, but for real, like this is shit I wish somebody would have told me in the same situation, right? The engagement was low, right? So for me, I haven't heard this music yet. I haven't heard from you in a long time, right? So I'm not necessarily like looking to download any of this. So you gotta make me want to do that. Right. And my perspective on that, I'm the best you're gonna get as far as a fan because I was an artist once. And so my understanding of how difficult it is to get people engaged in your music is so much more than the average person would be. So I'm gonna give you more of an opportunity than the average fan will. I'm gonna give you a whole minute to introduce me to this minute. The average fan, you get 15 to 30 seconds and not a second more. So your engagement with me is very important. Your back is to me the whole time. That's issue number one. Issue number two, you're having a listening party, and yeah, this is just a listening party, but if music is the commercial for the product, there wasn't a product. You got merch, but you never told anybody where to get it from, right? The average person is not going to go to your page, not going to like search out your website. You have to feed that to them. So if you don't tell me where to get the thing that's actually making you some money off of this, I'm not going to go fucking looking for it. So you got a missed opportunity. You could have sold 30, 40 shirts last night and you fucking didn't because you didn't think that through. The merch that he did have was plastic cups with his logo on them, right? And they were very hard to see. It was absolute shit. On top of that, right? In addition to all those things, he never said when that album was coming out. He never said where I was going to be able to find it. He never gave like a release date of anything.
That's
like
insane.
Whether you taking this,
why have the event?
I'm telling you, whether you're taking your listening event seriously or not, these are very basic things that you should have considered.
Why have the event?
And the whole time,
I'm confused.
He had merch, right? The only reason I know he had merch is because there was, I think, a cameraman or someone like that who had on like the t-shirt for the merch. Another thing, when you have like merch that's not the best, right? A good way to upgrade that is to ask fly niggas around you what they think of it before you start praying it up. I think that there's a lot. I'm serious.
How many fly niggas does he know?
There's a lot. Well, he made that album in LA, and he had a shit ton of high-end producers on that album.
There's
so
no
he had,
excuse
if nothing else, you got producers who hanging with fly niggas. Ask one of them niggas in the room what they think about it before you put it out. I think there's a lot of ego that goes into the creation of anything when you're a creative, and that includes the merch that you're selling. You need to ask people who dress like they be dressing what they think of something. It's nothing wrong with asking somebody who be putting that shit on what you think. And if they don't love it, to ask a couple more people. And if the consensus is that it's not great, to go back into the lab to recreate that thing. This is the thing that's going to make you money. You do a show, you sell 100 tickets at $25 a pop. You got to split that with whoever you on that showcase with. The thing that belongs to you is the merch. That's the product. The music is just a commercial for what that is. So for you to have something where you got one piece of merch that I'm only seeing on the back of a cameraman, right? At a listening event, that merch wasn't great. Give it out. It's 15, 20 bitches in here. Every bitch in this party should have that shit on.
Hello.
Because if niggas ain't paying attention to nothing else, they paying attention to pussy. Those are just the realities of what it all looks like. I ain't telling no lies up here. Everybody know I'm telling the truth. If the bitch is bad in the party and the bitch got the merch on, a nigga will notice it just because the bitch got the merch on. Give it to them.
Math and science.
At a function like that, most people are going to be late. Wait till them hoes come in, give them all a t-shirt and tell them to put it on. Tell them what color the t-shirt is before they get there so that the outfit they got on match the t-shirt. What are we doing?
Simple math and science.
You want me to take this music seriously when you don't take yourself seriously? How is that possible? Y'all need to start taking this shit serious in 2025. And I'm telling y'all this so that you don't make these same mistakes. You having a listening event, everybody that's with you in that party need to have that merch on. If you selling it, put 5 people in it so people know what it looks like. Have a couple to give away and sell the rest. Don't come in here with no cups with no stick on it, man. What you doing? You got to take yourself serious. This is real life. These true stories. You want me to take you seriously as an artist, which is very hard to do when 80,000 new songs come out a day. You want me to take it serious? Take yourself seriously. Church. Because even when the music was good, and it was, the music was good. He had phenomenal production on that album. It was very clear that he worked with high-tier producers. When am I supposed to get it?
Yeah.
I don't know when that shit coming out. I don't know what you pushing. You want me to do it on iTunes? Are you focusing on Tidal? You got this on Spotify, so you know you're not making no money off of it. You can't expect anybody to take you seriously when you don't take yourself seriously as an artist. These are very small things that you're already doing. You're already printing merch. Give it to a couple of these people in this party. When is this shit coming out? Maybe you should tell people that. If you don't have a release date, then say that. We don't have a release date yet. If you check this website or if you check my page around this time, we'll be able to tell you. But you had a listening party for some music. I don't know when it's coming out. And I'm an artist, so I might go looking for that later on. But the average person is not going to do that. You have a listening party and you tell me nothing about how to access this music. Within a week, they will have forgotten that shit and you will have wasted your time. Y'all got to do better. You want people to take you serious, take yourself seriously. Take your merch seriously. You spend money on this, even if it's only a little bit. You coming out your pocket for something, have the intention to sell. How do you sell something? Fly motherfuckers need to be in it. Put some bad bitches in it and put some pictures on it. You got a cameraman and a photographer in an event, but you don't got no merch in here. So you more focused on being able to have something that might go viral, right? And I was looking at the average of his, and that's y'all problem. Y'all so focused on going viral. And let me tell you, as somebody that had 15,000 views on Instagram, it takes more than that to monetize it. So as a result of that, if you're averaging, which he is, at let's say 18, 19,000 followers, he's averaging about somewhere between 5 to 10,000 views. I'm looking at all of this shit. So at 5 to 10,000 views on the videos that you're making, you're not making any money off of this. So you spent money on a cameraman and didn't do any of the things that could have actually made you some money last night. Why?
Crazy.
Take your fucking self seriously and stop playing with it. Because if you're not going to do that, then you sitting in a studio spending thousands of dollars on production, on mixing and mastering for something that's not going to make you a fucking dollar is a waste of your time. Do not waste your time because you don't have another year to get this shit together when it's 80,000 songs coming out a day. I'm done venting.
Hey,
but you need to take yourself seriously, man. Y'all got merch. Tell people where they could get it. Make it easy to access. And I'm gonna tell y'all something. This is real as shit. I go to a lot of artist pages, and we're not talking about this guy at all at this point. But a lot of the new music that I discover is through the search page. It's through the For You page. Most of the new music that I'm listening to that makes it to a playlist, and it always makes it to a playlist with me because that's just how I like to listen to things, right? I might listen to an album 2 or 3 times, and then I pull out what I liked from that album and put it on a playlist because I might not like all of this, right? Yeah. So as a result of that, right, if you're creating in that kind of space, make some money off of it. Do the thing that's going to help you get paid. And so much of that music that I find on that search page, I'll go to that person's profile because I do want to see the link tree. Like, how can I get this? Like, how can I download it? How can I put this on a playlist? So many of you don't even have that music that's going viral on your iTunes. You don't have it on your Tidal. And I don't use Spotify. So your expectation that the music is here, but it's not everywhere. But as long as it's here, it's fine. It shorts you. You might be losing out on thousands of listeners like that. Make your shit easily accessible to everybody. Don't be putting out this shit and getting 100,000 views on it, and we can't get it from anywhere. You have missed out on so much money, so much opportunity if you own it when you do stuff like that. Take yourself serious in 25, man, for real. That's my New Year's resolution to y'all. Take your craft seriously. You're going to put out this music because you never know what that one video is going to do. This might be the one. You got 100,000 views on it, and I don't know where to get the music from. And 9 times out of 10, you looking for stuff on a search page, you might never find that artist again. You find something one time, hear it one time, and then I might never. And sometimes people are paying for ads, and so things will pop up multiple times. But not everybody is doing that. Some people, it's just the talent that got them here. I'm seeing this because you talented, people loved it, and it happens to pop up for somebody like me, right? So you did that, and now the music not out. I'm not gonna go look for you again. You think people, are you stupid? Do you think people hear your viral music one time and it's not available for purchase and they go back and check in a week? Is that the world of delusion that people live in? That you think you can operate like that? That you can miss out on 100,000 views on something, which could potentially turn into 100,000 downloads on something, and that because you didn't have it available, I'm gonna look next month? People hate following people online because people don't want to mess with their numbers. People hate to do that. So if they go to your page one time, there is no guarantee they're ever going to follow you or find you again. Stop fucking up your opportunities. You make something and it's great. Make it accessible. And if it's not immediately accessible, you haven't finished mixing or mastering it or whatever that is, then put something on your link tree that tells people when it's available. If I like it enough, at that point, I might come back.
I'm not going to hold. I appreciate the TED Talk, but I feel like a lot of that goes to team building composition and the education that needs to go into proper team building composition.
Not everybody got a team.
I mean, while that's true, I think to kind of like piggyback to your point of how you take yourself more seriously is something that you got to prioritize if it's something that you want to, if you wanted to be part of your livelihood. Because like I had an opportunity through being a journalist, shout out Capital Mags, by the way, we in the building. But when I was editing manager for him, I got a chance to interview Chris Gotti, older brother, right? And one of the things that really stuck out to me in my conversation with him, and this was like in the middle of the pandemic, like 2-3 years ago, and I got the sound file somewhere, but I told him about how I was an artist myself and, you know, some of the aspirations that I had with touring and doing some of the things we always want to as independents. But he's like, the biggest thing that you as an artist should be prioritizing is making the quality content and then having people around you that you trust appropriately that help put that the right place. As much as that person that was said example that started the snowball this TED Talk is accountable for like the lack of structure and organization and engagement is something that I personally gotta be mindful of. But who is on my team, if there is one, but who is in this immediate circle? Because there gotta be at least that at minimum. You can't just literally do this all by yourself. Who's in that space that is just enabling it and not keeping you accountable for having a certain tier of quality that's already set up or implemented in place for when you want to put this event together?
For sure.
Because like, as someone who's taking the opportunity to be on the production side as well as being like a contributing member as like an artist or something, you got to make sure that all those things are already in place. Like if I'm promoting the event,
the team got to tighten up.
Like if I'm promoting the event, I already know that the person who's shooting the visuals is going to be crispy on point on time. I know the person who's doing the sound going to be crispy on point on time. If I'm the person like who's actually the curator, I'm going to do my diligence in promoting it to certain people that I know are going to spread the word appropriately. So that way we can hopefully have the best turnout possible. But if I don't have the means to put all those things together in that exact order that I just mentioned, stay cool, stay out the way until you can have that set up appropriately. Don't just be trying to rush stuff. And if you do have that production, like if you do got that production stuff that you're doing on the other side, like that's cool, but you gotta, it can't just be that's like the talent aspect of it, like you mentioned. Like,
for sure.
What is your why, and how are you showing? How are you really showing that to people?
I'm about to say the same thing. It just really all depends on your purpose. Like I think what you're saying is, if you're gonna jump out there, you already doing it. If you're gonna do all these things that's costing you a bunch of money,
hell yeah, bro. I have a plan with that shit.
If you treating this like it is your livelihood, why you not taking the proper steps to do that? I think it just really depends on your purpose. It depends on your team. It depends on what you're really trying to do with it. Because some people just want to make music,
for sure.
But if you going, like you said, if you gonna go through the steps of having,
especially that like out LA producing
things like that, like make that money back.
Because he made a point to tell us, like, he's going song by song. He tell us each producer for the song. So you got Shy Glizzy's producer producing that music for you, and it's great. The music wasn't the issue last night. It was everything else. You already got merch, and you're telling me that like we have merch available. Where?
Yeah, nah, that already got to be set.
He never mentioned that.
He
turned his cameraman around. The cameraman had the logo on the back. We got these available for you. Where? How am I supposed to get it?
But it sounds like, and I think what music has become now is really just like a club.
Yes.
It's like a club now. Like, it's me and my people. We in the club, and this our section, and this is what we do over here, and this is what we gonna do. It's like people are making music now. One, I think, it's just become the hot thing to do,
for sure.
But like it ain't, and that's why we, like you said, it ain't the same. Ain't a lot of care into it as it used to be. But I think music has become just like
Something people do.
Everybody knows somebody that make music. Everybody knows somebody, and that's not saying it's good or bad, but it used to be a proper way to go about doing music and making music and performing. Now it's like a club. Hey, this is my section. We're gonna do what we do over here. And I think
even if what you do is inefficient, and that's the problem. Like,
but niggas getting clout off of that. Yeah. So if I get clout off of being inefficient, why would I do it the other way?
Right.
If I can get clout, because now it's about clout. If I can get clout off of just doing it,
for sure.
What do I did it.
For sure. Here's the thing, though, right? You're already putting your money into the thing. Right? You've already created merch. Tell me how I could buy it. That's a simple. I'm not asking you to do something you're not already in the motion of doing. You've already made it. You already have the IG. You already got your follower count up. You got 19,000 followers. There's the potential to sell this to as many people as you can if everything else behind it is right. And I agree 100% with Steve as far as the fact that you need a team that's tight. But I think something that costs artists millions down the line is that I thought my team was handling it. For you to walk into any space where your money, your livelihood, I'm telling you,
that's a fair
for you
rebuttal.
to walk into any space with your money, your livelihood, your future on the line, and you not to check behind the niggas that's supposed to have your back would make you crazy. That's because not everything gets done. You know how many niggas is broke right now because they wasn't checking behind their accountants and their business managers? And let me tell you something. Make no mistake that if you don't start those habits early, you will not magically build them later on. If you don't know at this level in your career that I need to be checking behind my team just to make sure everything is done. That's as simple as calling a nigga and asking, is it done? Right. Prove it to me.
You got it.
The merch ready? It's already on the site for purchase. All right, send me the link. These are things that you should be doing anyway. Don't count on nobody but yourself. You got to be accountable to you. Because if, for example, you have the merch ready and available, but your team has not ensured that that merch is going to be ready and available for purchase, then whose fault is it at the end of the day? You got to be checking behind people. That's as simple as a phone call and a text message to make sure it's done and saying me send the link to it so I can make sure.
Real.
For you to leave that in the hands of anybody else without bothering to check. It's 50 people in there last night. If you selling these shirts at $10 a pop, which by the way, nobody does that. Right? Y'all charging with it. I'm gonna get into that on another episode, but you local niggas charging with motherfucking Ralph Lauren charging for shit. You're fucking ridiculous. But we're not gonna get into that. 9 times out of 10, a nigga charging, $20, $25 for the shirt. It's 50 people in here. That's an easy bag that you missed out on for not doing something you were already doing. Because you didn't check. Well, such and such was supposed to make sure, but did you make sure? That's it. Check behind your people. And not everybody has a team, and we understand that, which means you got to tighten up your process. So it falls all on you for you to get it done. It is what it is. But if you are blessed enough to have a team, people behind you who are willing to support you 9 times out of 10 at this level, they're not getting paid or whatever it is. If you are fortunate enough to have people behind you that believe in you, a lot of times if you can't pay your team, they are less efficient. You get what you pay for. And there's nothing wrong with that. But in those instances, you got to check behind those people because they're not getting paid to do the shit. Real. And people forget. People are human. Everybody got their own struggles going on. It's Christmas season. Like, it's stuff going on. So it is imperative that you making sure. How much money did you miss out on by not just asking your man, hey, the shirt's ready? We got we got 20 of them printed up so we can make sure, we can make a couple of dollars off of. These are small things. Y'all telling me you can't do this small thing. Tell me you're not ready for none of this and you need to let it go. If you making music for just you and your friends, then I don't need to come to this fucking listening party because this is just for you and your homies. Right. But if you want to make anything off of this, tighten your process up because you owe yourself that. You owe yourself enough to take yourself seriously. Right. Check behind your people. What's wrong with that? Don't listen to me, man. You know what I'm saying?
But to that, and I think Mello touched on this earlier. Like, there's 2 things I took away from that. Like, Mello's saying it's like a club. Like, when people just focus on the aesthetic or something, not how it benefit them or how it can grow from it,
how it looks and not what it is.
He was saying, like, they're gonna miss the point entirely of how they could better benefit themselves. And the other half, like, it seemed like homie don't take criticism well, at least from what I could see. Because I'm like, if anything at all, like any type of criticism of how the event could have gone from an honest standpoint, he would have tightened up everything on the merch, on the cameraman. Like the cameraman alone could have given him a lot more like content for him to put on his Instagram that supposedly is 19K. Like that could have been an easy way to like get more people to track to your next event, or get more people, like you said, to buy the merch if there's a link. But like it's so many little particulars from just focusing on aesthetic and not take criticism well, that could have changed everything. But hey.
And you know what? Another thing too, right? Because I think this is like a lost art, but it's imperative. Sequencing. I think like so many artists, right? Because this happened recently, and I told him this, right? So, I had an artist on the show. The whole album was fire, first of all. The whole thing was great. But he put what I thought were his best 3 songs on the back half of the album. Oof. So the last 3 songs on the album, which I thought were like, no, these is smokers. Like these, you could put this should be on the radio right now. These smokers. They were the last 3 songs on the album. And I think his perspective was to like to sneak that real shit in at the end. That is not the way you do. You put your best shit up front.
The attention span of the listener.
Y'all need to bear that in mind. Sequencing. And guess what? Even if you only making shit just for you and your friends, that's what you should be focusing on. It's the order of this shit. You put your best shit up.
Provide the levels
that happened last night as well. It was another artist that was featured on there. Extremely talented young lady. Shout out to Janae Music. That would have been the advice that I gave her. She played. She only played a few songs, but her very best song, and I mean this thing was a smoker. She played it first. And then every song after it was not as good. So I lost interest in it. And that's somebody who like is interested in your music. That's somebody who is here to listen to you. That's somebody who is willing to give you an opportunity. Most of these people are not. Because most of the things that happen in the District of Columbia, PG County, Baltimore, this particular area, people are doing things to be seen. They don't come to these events because they want to be supportive. They come to these events so that they can be seen at the events.
No, I was about to say, you're really supposed to put it like 3 or 4 when you play this your best. Because as the A&R, you really put it 3 or 4, like your lead single, your best joint, your intro, song hits you like, boom. Then you put your best one on for that reason. Because you put your best one first and then you lose interest if it don't match up. So you gotta kind of just spoon feed, put it at 3.
Levels are important.
Put it at 6 or 7.
I will agree to disagree with you. Respectfully, you know that, Chaz, respectfully. And I'm gonna tell you why. I think because like and this is just from a fan perspective, right? Because I'm not really an artist anymore. I'm an accountant. But from a fan perspective, really, if I listen to these first 3 and they smokers, I will give the rest of it an opportunity. But if I listen to the first one and it's all right, and the second one is all right, and the third one, like, oh, this is great. The next one is great. I may or may not give the rest of this an opportunity. I've already given you 5.
If anything.
So like the average person doesn't give the opportunity. I just feel like music has changed too much for you to take those risks. Put the smokers up front. And if they love the smokers, then I think people will gravitate and give you the opportunity to give them the other 7 or 10 or whatever it is. But I think if you make me wait, if you have the audacity, the ego to make me wait 7 songs before you put these smokers on this bitch, I'm already out. I don't care no more.
So
fucking dare you. Put the smokers up front, nigga. Give me the goats up front and let me decide if I'm willing to listen to the rest of this. Because at least if I put the smokers up front and they don't bother to listen to the rest of it, they probably weren't going to do that anyway. And that's what it is. But they got them smokers out the way. But don't make me wait no 5 fucking... Listen, last night, the smoker was like song 8. I only made it that far because I'm in an event.
I feel like my first 5 gotta be smokers because I might not get you to 5.
Like
you might tap out at 5, but if I get you to 5, it's a nice chance you gonna go. Let me finish
it.
Because then what we also saying is, what's the perfect amount of songs for an album?
For sure.
Because I think I would think like 12. If I give you 12
is usually digestible.
Gotta be smokers, and then my next 3 gotta be like, oh, these are good songs for the album. Yeah. So I really like group it. I got my smokers. Half my album gotta be smokers. Then the next percentage gotta be good songs, and other ones gotta be ones for the ladies or something like that, or like
niche driven.
Yeah, some other stuff where some features in there where I can get it. But like my first 5, I gotta smoke.
Yeah, and it's like, to your point, it can't be so far into the mix just based off of the attention span numbers that go into how a listener puts stuff together. So it's like, you'll get, if it's a full body of work, and we going by that 12 track number, right? If track number 2 don't make me feel a certain way, like I'm gonna bust you in your head with the second track, because the intro might be a little bit of me setting the tone with how I'm feeling artistically for the body of work. But then like, and then even when you think about it psychologically, when you think of like that album that you personally enjoy a lot, that second album, that second song, a lot of the time could end up either being a combination of one of the best songs off the album, a single that's already on the radio, or like something that's kind of experimental, or like some happy medium in between. You know what I'm saying? And like, you gotta prioritize putting stuff like that at the forefront, and then giving like meaningful levels in between where it doesn't like really teeter off as far as like the intensity or the depth or whatever. Because at that point, that's when you can really solidify it, even through the type of listening that people do on a day-to-day basis nowadays. Because like, that's like it's that 15-second window of making an impression. And when you're talking about like listening to a song or an album in its totality, by track number 2, I'm gonna probably figure out or have an idea if I want to give the rest of it a chance. You know what I'm saying?
And that's why I'm saying, that's the only reason I'm saying put your smokers up front.
Put that shit up front, yo.
From the perspective of a listener, even when it's artists that I like, right? I'm moving through it kind of quickly. So I'm giving artists that I like, that I am a core fan of, artists I will buy tickets to go see live. You got 2 minutes on these. And I'm talking about like, and that's a lot of time, but you got like a minute and a half to catch me with this before I'm going to the next song. And that's it. You're not going to get that from the average listener that you're trying to make a fan of. You got to give yourself the best opportunity. That's just my opinion. And I know that there are people who say like, you know, you're like curating an album, right? And so you want it to have a certain vibe. You want it to have a certain feel. And so you're sequencing based on the vibe that you're intending to create with that album. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that if your sole goal is just to create something that you love and that you feel like is the best product possible. But I think if we're being realistic, the average artist is not just creating for the love of it. You want people to listen to it so that they come out to those shows, so that they buy that merch, so that you can make something off of it. I think the best possibility, in my humble opinion, to do that for yourself is just to put the best shit up front. Because here's the thing, 9 times out of 10, people are not sitting around listening to your entire album as they grow to love it. If there's music on there that they do like, that they do repeat, that does make a playlist, that is what they playing when they listen into a car. How many people you think real live like sitting around listening song by song to a Larry June album? Or are they pulling the songs out that they like? How many people really sit down and listen to the entire Currency album? Or are they listening to the top songs?
Well, I think shit. I if I fuck with your music, I'm gonna listen to your album, and I'm gonna bump it all the way through because.
But is that as a fan, or is that because you're an artist?
Both. More so, I'm a fan of music first, so I'm automatically. If you come out with an album, like if you come out like now, when I go back, I'm going down your album. I'm gonna bump your album from start to finish because I met the person, I know the person, I've listened to some songs. Not only am I a fan, I want to hear how you put it together. I now want to critique it, and now as an artist, I want to learn. So I'm going to bump in because I'm just a fan of music first. Like even a Thug album, anybody, I'm going to bump your shit. When you say the second song is the best, I thought of one album, Culture, Migos.
Okay,
that's a good example.
T-Shirt is the second song. That is a fucking hit, but. That album came after them giving us their first album that wasn't that good. So they lined it up with the intro, which was something to set the tone, then T-Shirt, then it was called Cast, and then it slipped.
For sure.
So it's like,
and also,
I'm automatically gonna bump your whole album just because I'm a fan of music.
As Steven emphasized, T-Shirt was already the single. So, you know what I mean? Like, you get some leeway when the single, which is already going crazy, is the second song.
Right.
But what if your lead single didn't do that? I'm gonna give you a good example of this, right? And this has nothing to do with rap. I'm a huge Coco Jones fan. I think that she's fantastic. I think she's got like some of the most raw talent in the game right now. Right?
Absolutely.
And it don't hurt that she bad, right? Like, when I've listened to the singles, which I thought the first album was masterful as an R&B album. And she won a shit ton of Grammys off of that album as a new artist. So kudos to her, right? To win a bunch of Grammys off of like your first EP, it wasn't even an album, is fantastic, right? And I thought that it was sequenced perfectly. She put the singles up front, the ones that was already going crazy. And then there were fillers behind it that I thought were phenomenal fillers. And then like kind of the joints that she did with Babyface, the big name producers, those were last. So I felt like she sequenced that album perfectly. When I'm listening to the new music from Coco Jones, the singles ain't really hitting like that yet, right? She don't have an ICU in a lot of the new music. So I'm always curious about, like, based on these 3 or so singles you've put out that are like maybe not quite as good as what happened on the first attempt, or maybe just as a fan, I don't like them as much as I liked the first attempt. When she sequenced those, she would have to throw all of them shits on the top of the album, or she would have to throw them on the bottom of the album. You're not going to be able to throw these songs that already haven't done much at the top of an album as an artist that people do not know. You're going to give Coco Jones an opportunity to get past those singles that didn't necessarily do all that well, or that didn't do quite as well as the first EP. You're going to give her that opportunity. You niggas ain't getting that.
Yeah.
You need to base your life in the way that you create in the real world. You're not going to get the opportunity that the Migos got. Right. And you're not going to get the opportunity that Coco Jones is going to get, or that Currency is going to get, or that Kendrick is going to get. Kendrick's whole album is fire. But you know why you're willing to listen to the rest of that shit? Whacked Out Murals is crazy as an introduction.
Yes.
You can't help. I want to, like, that first song, I need to know what the rest of this sound like. I think that's how you have to approach it. And that's Kendrick. You niggas ain't Kendrick. And I'm not talking about the guys on the stage with me. But like,
no, I'm not.
Y'all are regular artists.
Nah.
Artist introduction should already be fire.
For sure.
Because that's normally sometimes that's not even your single lead. It's just that's your fire. This is your fire.
For sure. But how do we define that though? Let me get into that with you, Chaz.
It captured you.
Is that how we define in the single? Is the song that like captivates the most?
To me, as a music fan, no.
Okay.
But for the average listener, yeah, that's what grabs the attention. Because when I'm listening to an album, half the stuff on my playlist is never the single.
Side note, I'd like to notate that Not Like Us wasn't even on that fucking album. The biggest single in the world wasn't even on the album. That's how good he is.
He didn't need it.
Keep going now. Keep going. Don't let me interrupt.
That's because he had that shit already in the he already had that shit.
It's in the bag.
I think your single come from you taking this song you really like and you bumping it around people that fuck with you. And then they will be like, nah, this is it. And like, then you go bump it around other people that might listen to you or other crowds. Like it's a people thing. Y'all talked about a team. That's what it's like. It's being aware enough, like you saying, you giving your advice and taking criticism, being open enough to put yourself out there and being around you, but not just people who gonna just yes man you.
For sure.
But like being around
genuinely care.
Constructive critiques.
Like, yo, listen to this. Like I got this advice from one of my good brothers, TP. He was like, yo, when he felt I was making music, and at that time I was just rapping over beats. And he was like, yo, when you say Rick Ross, he said, if Rick Ross came up to you right now and said, yo, play me your best shit, what would you play?
Oh, I know what I'm
saying. And it made me think like, yo, I need to start making music. This was like when I first got out of school. So it's like, yo, I need to start making music that if I didn't have my phone or anything, I could just rap it. You know what I'm saying? Like this song is hard. This is my shit. I could just rap it, or I know exactly what to click you. Because at that time I was just rapping over beats. I wasn't making songs. And he said that, she said, yo, if a nigga came to you right now and said, yo, what's your best shit? Play it. What would you play? And I had to think about it. And then he started, that's what really got me on like rap, getting producers and stuff like that. Because I was just rapping over people's beats. He's like, yo, that's not your song. So like, I agree with you like that. Like being able to have people around you that I could play this song, you can give me your honest criticism, or you can tell me straight up, like, yo, this is it. This is shit.
100%.
The single is your commercial.
Yeah, exactly.
Back in the day, your single was the commercial.
The commercial.
Who you are.
Right? And that was back when you could make money off music. You can't make money off music no more. The system is designed for you not to be able to. The only people making money off music is the labels. And I say this all the time. They are big banks with high interest rates.
I just clicked
Nothing
on one of
more.
your clips where you said that same shit.
It's the truth. I tell artists that all the time because I think like a lot of artists, they be thinking if they get a deal, it's going to save them, and it ain't.
Not at all. Quite the opposite, actually.
It's a huge bank.
Quite the
with
opposite,
a high-ass
actually,
interest
for
rate,
real.
and you're not meant to make any money off of it. And even if you do make money, you're getting a fraction of what you're owed on that. I'm gonna tell you how you know. Drake's last deal, he made like $450 million on it. That's what the label paid him. Do you know how much you're making them for them to cut you a $450 million check? That would mean that you're well over $1 billion. And it's well over because they're not going to give you half.
Yeah.
So if you get a check for $450 million, that means that the margin at which you are creating for them is at minimum $2 billion. If you own it, the $2 billion becomes yours. A label is not here to save you. And guess when y'all niggas making the most money off these records? When you die.
Mm-hmm.
When you go to jail.
That's
when you've ruined your life.
But that be the issue. Because the question I usually ask artists, do you want fame or money? So people conflict.
For sure.
Fame is being
be rich,
because you have the money sometimes. You might know by your cult following your fans.
For sure.
But as an artist, sometimes that vanity that comes with being an artist, you want the fame. You want people chanting your name. You want the big stage.
And listen, I'm not judging that. Yeah. Chaz is 100% right, and I'm not judging that. You work hard as shit to be an artist. That are facts. Everybody sitting here know that. It is hard motherfucking work. You up late nights, and guess what? The first several years of that, you don't make $1 off that blood, sweat, and tears. So yeah, you want credit for that fucking hard work you put in. I understand that, and there's nothing wrong with it, but it's fleeting. Point blank, period. Very few people stay famous their whole careers. There's a really low percentage of y'all that's going to end up being Hove. And not just people are interested in what you're doing, but now they're interested in what your kids doing, what your wife doing, what your friends doing, what the niggas you came up with in the game doing.
That's not even some shit you really want all the way.
I'm about to say,
I ain't no shit you really want all the way, though.
Like, really, most people are not going to stay famous for very long. And guess what? That shit destroys some people. I'm going to give a good example. All right? Tell me how you know I'm 34. Milli Vanilli. Most famous niggas in the world at one point got their whole lives blown up for lip syncing, and that fame went away, and one of them niggas killed himself. He couldn't take when nobody loved him anymore. That shit is a drug. And I said this on I did a podcast on Friday night, right? And I heard something really valuable this week with regard to praise, and it's probably something that I'm going to carry with me. The person that I heard it from said praise is perfume. You smell it, you enjoy it, but you don't drink it. Mm-hmm. To drink it is to drink poison. You don't consume it. That's not the point of all of it. So if you're basing your life on the fame of it, but you don't understand that the money you make off of it, the product that you create is what enables you. Y'all niggas really think that fame is what enables people to still matter within 15 years of their career? Is Nelly as famous as he was 15, 20 years ago? No.
Not at all.
But that bag looking crazy. Yeah, that is what, and guess what? If you don't have a bag, that fame will disappear even faster. If you a famous motherfucker, but you didn't make no money off of it, that fame is going to go even quicker than it would have otherwise. It is the money that keeps those niggas in the conversation, because Nelly bought an NBA team. So even after he wasn't Nelly no more, he in the news because he bought a fraction of an NBA team. Same with Usher. Usher hadn't come out with no music. And guess what? That was of the era where artists could wait 2 or 3 years to create something. You ain't going to get no 2 to 3 year window. You're not Kendrick. You cannot come out with an album every 6 years and still maintain the way that he does. And the whole reason why Drake was able to capitalize for so long is because Kendrick does not like being famous. And so he didn't trip off that. He's in the news for the music. And then once the albums die down, then Drake is back in the conversation and he killing shit. And he's creating at such a frequency that is able to help you kind of forget about the guys that you may not be as big a fan of. But most people are not going to get that window. You got to treat that shit like perfume. You enjoy it, but you don't drink it. But thinking that you're going to make your life being famous is ridiculous because most of your favorites are not as famous as they were at one point in their life.
I mean, it also depends on what's your idea of fame.
What you famous for?
And like
because the idea of fame itself is like a weird double-edged sword. And like even for me, like on a very like niche DMV space where this is where most of my influence is, like I've been fortunate enough to do like some independent pop-ups in different spaces like while traveling and doing other stuff, but most of it's here where I would be recognized for the stuff that I do. And even here it's weird because it's like my name is Steven X as an artist for a reason, because it's as close to the regular person as what you see. It's just an extension of who I am. So it's like, even though you would see a dynamic, talented performer that has all this charisma and all this other stuff, I still am very much kind of like how Nisho mentioned earlier, like a very shy, introverted person where it's like, yo, you see me like when I'm not on stage, I'm a very different person, yo. And it's like, and it's almost to the point like I get that the notoriety just comes with it because you're on a platform where people admire you for doing what you do for a multitude of reasons. But it's like how you really carry that as the person who is receiving that, to your point, is going to really determine like what your life really looks like. Because it's like everybody, like the fame is cool, but like how you ended up being there or what you end up sticking around for, sometimes it's not even really worth it, because you end up talking to a lot of these folks who end up being quote unquote famous, and they'll be like, yo, I give all this shit away in a heartbeat.
Was a good example of that.
Great example
of somebody whose fame only became attached to notoriety. And I think he's a good example of somebody who like drank the praise. And then he started doing, I mean, at one point in time, yeah. Lil Pump, it's hard to remember it now because it was so fleeting and so fucking useless and he was so talentless ultimately. But I think like, if you really look at what he was doing during that period of time, there's a reason that nigga's still rich. Like, no, like there are people who like are huge for a year. And then you don't care after that. And that's the nature of, I think, a lot of people.
Sexyy Red gonna be, and I don't think like that.
I don't think so.
Sexyy Red got too much thinking power.
Like her personality.
She got too much thinking power.
I think Sexyy Red can sell you a product because the music is, whatever people think it is. I don't want to judge it. I don't know. It's not me.
I don't even know the music.
I wouldn't say. I don't know.
I don't know the music.
I don't want to, because I don't want to like. We're feminists up here, so
to your point,
I'm not going to dog her, but
her product is much more based off of her personality and the intangibles, because
I think that's why she won.
I love me some Sexyy Red. You see this? I love you, baby. I love me some Sexyy Red.
Like I respect, like I put it like this.
I love me some Sexyy.
I'm crying, but I put it like this though, because it's like you gotta. Funny as shit.
Some niggas love a little dirty bitch. Like that's they shit. That's shit. Fuck you gonna do about it? Like I said it. Like some niggas like that's what they like. He bought one nigga like it makes sense. He like
it's the personality.
Yeah, she can sell products. If Sexyy Red was advertising for Popeye's chicken, I'd be like, you know what? Yup.
Yeah,
that makes sense. She got the personality to sell a product.
She gonna be sticking around for a while.
It feels so real with her. What you seeing is what you getting all the time. I love that for her though. I love that for Sexyy Red. It ain't no hate, whatever. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? What the shit looking like, what the product looking like. You know what I'm saying? Like to me, Kim Kardashian, a dirty little junk. Like, ain't the fuck you put all the makeup and fucking BBLs on some shit. Like, I'm a real woman, so you put all the makeup and BBLs on the shit that you want to.
All the bitches.
Nah. You know, and I'm like, a dirty ass little chopper. Like, listen, like that's 30% of y'all. If we keeping it a buck, like, ain't nothing wrong with
That's
it.
why I love them though. They unapologetically they sell.
I love that for her. I do.
Like that,
honestly, like that's why I can't really comment on the music because I've only heard a few Sexyy Red songs. But I love the energy with Sexyy Red. Like if Sexyy Red was like selling furniture, I'd be like, yes.
I don't
give me that couch. I love that for her. She could sell a product, whether or not the music, and that's the other thing people I think forget. Like whether or not this music is great, you selling you.
Your personality.
The greatest product that you sell in itself. And that's why a lot of people get into trouble because they get to a point where they're willing to sell their soul to move that product. But at the end of the day, your product is you and then whatever comes out of that. I love the fact that she's only herself.
That's a whole other discussion too, because a lot of times they do sell their soul to get to that point, to be themselves.
Who you feel like sold their soul to get to that point, Chaz?
I mean,
let us know.
You coming in there showing your pussy lips, that's a part of selling your soul.
Who did the pussy lips?
Kim K. Kim K.
Okay, that is what I'm about to say.
I give you that. I give you that.
You ain't tell no lies up here. Let me tell you something, nigga. We don't lie up here. Tell you niggas what it is. You don't gotta fucking like it. I'm selling me, and I don't tell no lies. And ain't nobody gon'
That's my bitch, but you right. That's my bitch.
Hey, dog.
That's a whole lot.
I love that for her. I love that for her. Listen, like if that's what you willing to do, you willing to put that thing on camera, you willing to bend it over, go, you know what I'm saying, ride that dick like a bike, whatever you want to do. That's all. That's all you. You do whatever you want to do. I'm a feminist. I believe. You know what feminism is? Feminism is believing that you are entitled to do whatever the fuck you want to do and to do it at the level that men do it. Men is sluts overall. So if that's what you want to do with your body,
don't make it right.
Yeah, I mean,
Too wrong, don't make it right.
but he love that shit though, right?
I said I love
But he love that shit.
Putting up that shit from my average bitch.
And see,
the average bitch, I'm not giving that leeway.
And this is what I'm talking about. This is what you really need to hear from these niggas. Niggas love a famous whore, but not a general whore. So you need to be careful how you live out here.
Let's not change the general one. We need the general ones as much as the famous
she got
ones.
$140 million to go behind.
No.
Don't get that leeway.
Let's not shame the everyday whores.
This is what I'm saying.
Go ahead and justify you being a hoe like
No. Justify.
fucking hoe. Go on.
What I'm saying
Give us your
is,
snap perspective. No one know better than you.
What I'm saying is, if Shorty is leveled up, she on both of them on their shit, whether we judge them or not. All I'm saying is, we know average bitches that did worse than them bitches. So you know what I'm saying? So I'm loving them for who they are unapologetically. The average bitch ain't being them unapologetic. They lying. They try and get the average bitch ain't going to tell you she's a thought and a hoe.
That's ridiculous.
That's less chances.
First of all, this is the hypocrisy that I be talking about. Now let's lay it out right now. Let's lay it out right the fuck now. All right, a motherfucking hypocrite. Point blank. Period. And I'm gonna tell you why. Because that is no longer true. There might have been a time where bitches were ashamed of being whores. We do not live in that time anymore. Yes, every for you bitch on the Instagram is a proud hooker.
That's an AI.
And that's what it is. So and it's nothing wrong with that if that's how you want to live your life. If that's how you want to live your life, it's okay. But I think it's important that y'all hear that niggas are okay with you being a devout hooker as long as there's some fame attached to it. But you regular hookers on Instagram, these niggas are so fucking fake. You fine with the whore as long as the whore famous, as long as she leveled up, as long as she got some money. But these regular bitches who are also unapologetically doing what they want to do, that's a problem for you. These are the niggas that you dealing with. And that's why you need to know who the fuck you are. That's why you need to know who the fuck you are and what you value in this life. Because the average nigga is a nigga who willing to fuck you, work on the internet and all that, as long as you giving something in addition to that. That's bullshit, and you bullshit for that.
First of all, I ain't the average nigga. Let's get that straight right there. So look, because I'm not the average nigga, I can like what the average nigga don't have the chance to like. Second of all, I said I love them.
It's a million niggas that like Sexyy Red. That would be average.
Listen. I said I love them bitches. When did I say I would ever cuff them bitches? When did I ever say I would bring them home to my mother?
You wouldn't like it.
Yeah, it's okay.
That don't make you dirty and foul. Just
It's
like
okay to speed on the highway as long as the cops ain't there. Everybody speed. But when the cops around, you slow your ass up. It's okay to love a hoe.
So
you said I'm gonna bring her to my mother's house.
So let me reiterate. It's okay to fuck
your strippers. I ain't taking one of them home.
Okay, so let me reiterate. It's okay to fuck the slut, but it's not okay to be seen with the slut.
Right.
Okay.
Damn right.
So so I think it's important. I think it's important to not take a piece of shit when I see one. And there ain't nothing wrong with being a piece of shit. I'm as fine with niggas being pieces of shit as I'm as fine with bitches being whores. But don't sit here and think to yourself that you're not a piece of shit for saying that piece of shit out loud.
Can we go back to putting some respect on our dick as dudes?
Thank you.
Just a little bit, bruh. Like,
especially when you wouldn't wife no bitch who doing that same dirty, disgusting shit. You put your dick in the bitch for and introduce the bitch to your mother, and so your dick has less value.
It's a lot of germs.
Love yourself, Mello. Jesus Christ.
It's a
fuck you.
Love yourself.
My mother.
Love yourself. It's crazy.
Listen.
You gotta fuck you. You gotta meet my mom.
I wouldn't let a nigga fuck me if I couldn't meet his mother, but that's the kind of woman that I am. That's different. I ain't no sexy.
So every nigga you fuck, you met their mother and their brother and their family and everything.
Yeah, every nigga I fucked, I met their family.
Shit.
You wouldn't know nothing about that.
I'm gonna get her about you gonna get me. You a good woman. You should act like that. If you are the minority of bitches, every bitch like you.
It goes back to what is selling your soul. You perhaps didn't do that. Why? Because you set yourself.
I would have been more successful in music if I was a slut. That's for sure. If the industry is composed of men, though. So how was it not their fault?
No, I'm just the nigga that's fucking. I'm saying I'm not the nigga that's holding you back because you ain't a slut. That's my fault. How you a piece of shit because of that?
Man, niggas, please value your dick more, man. Please,
nigga, just like he said, niggas do what you want to do. She told the female, do what you want to do. Niggas, do what you want to do. That's what she said. She just said, do what you want to do, but it's niggas, we got value.
So reiterate, he got a problem with me telling niggas to value themselves. I just want to make sure you put that out there. You're right, don't value yourself. Be the whore that you are.
You told the women to do that.
Jesus
you told the women that. You said, do what you want. I'm a feminist.
I'm gonna give you why, right? So, and not to get crazy on you, you know what I'm saying? But Chaz know at the heart of hearts, I'm a Christian, right? Because something is permissible doesn't make it beneficial.
Hello.
I'm not telling you that this is what you should be doing. I'm just saying that you have the right to do whatever you want to do. We talking about your rights. We're not talking about what's smart or a good idea. So let's get that straight. I'm not telling these hoes to go out here and be these hoes. What I'm telling you is that if that's how you want to live your life, be unapologetically that. Because guess what? What you have,
okay, Sexyy Red. That's what I'm saying.
And that's what I'm saying. You're entitled to all of that. But just know that this is how niggas really talking about you. This is how niggas really think about you. Don't fool yourself into thinking that you fucking around makes you as classy as those of us who are not. But we talking about classy versus like what's fuckable. Those are different, but I'm grown. So I understand that just because a nigga fuck you don't mean he like you. Just because a nigga fuck you don't mean he value you. Just because a nigga fuck you don't mean you mean anything to him, depending on how he meet you and how that goes down. A nigga will fuck you the first night he meet you and not even know your name and don't think about you again. Those are possibilities. I think as a person, right? Not as a woman, as a human being. Those are not situations I'm willing to put myself into. And that's not because I'm judging the people that do it. That's because I understand my emotional stability.
You're a minority.
I am not built for such situations. I'm crazy.
You a minority.
That's why.
Blow that fucking house up.
Gotta find me. I might not be.
That's why it do goes hand in hand. Because again, no nation can rise higher than this woman. That's there. But then as men, you did put some respect on, take pride in who we are.
Love yourself.
But that's why it still goes hand in hand, because as men too, men do need help sometimes with the discipline aspect. So yes, when sex is being sold, when our core nature is our loins,
sexual, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that like again, people talk about this discipline, this and that. but people can't even have a hard time eating right. You know what I'm saying? So that's why it goes hand in hand. Yeah, if you selling sex,
Go vegan.
My animalistic nature is going to be attracted to the sex.
For sure. And that's why I'm saying, like, for me, I know that to my core, because I did grow up with a father and I did grow up with brothers, and these were street niggas. So I know that just because you lay down with that nigga doesn't mean that it means anything. And if you are right with that, then fine. I am not all right with that. I'm not built for such situations. So I don't engage in them. Not because I don't think you could do whatever you want to do, but because I know myself. I'm not built to be laying up with no bunch of niggas. That's crazy to me.
I do
Once
think
again, you're a minority.
About Sexyy Red fame, I do think it's fading in 2025 beyond.
For her specifically?
I just think because
like that mentality or her?
The hypersexualized nature that was taking place is slowly fading. Because we have women like you that's coming up, because the shaming is starting to come back, right? And
bring back shame. Bring back shame.
Like you said, men overall is starting to wife, like the wife in these women with standards. And now, back in the day, it was like, oh, the hoes is winning. No more.
It's because everybody grew up and realized that shit was trash.
When was the hoes winning?
The hoes was winning for a long time.
That was the argument. Women used to argue that hoes is winning. You used to see the hoes getting.
That was the argument.
You know,
because you see these NBA players wiping IG models who was fucking 5 niggas before you. Like, I'm telling you that as somebody who live here. Do you know how many like Washington Wizards had passed around the same bitch? Like, listen, let's keep it all the way a buck. Brad and John was beefing because he hit Kamaya first.
They call that the work, but
Shorty that made the face when Braun hit that shot.
Yeah.
Damn, she
John had her first.
But you know,
so like it was a lot of bitches getting wiped up who was pass arounds. The NBA is built off that.
But you know what changed it? The Travis Hunter conversation showed me there's a change. Because everybody at the time they did, no, bro, don't wipe this.
Don't wipe this, John.
Don't do it.
So, not just because she a whore, because she a gold digging whore.
Yeah, nah, that's actually insane.
So that's telling me something. A shift is changing.
I don't think it's been no shift. I think if you real, you've been doing this shit and you've been who you are. Like, if you just real.
I think real is back though as a whole.
Real is,
I agree with you saying. I feel like like for sure for us. You know what I'm saying? When you've been real, you stay real. You don't know nothing else. But there's a lot of people like they gotta evolve to that.
That's why I said what I said at the beginning too. When I was like, we've seen in this last calendar year, and it's so funny that it really tipped off with Cat Williams' interview where he's talking about like, yo, I don't
care what nobody say. Time Magazine person of the year. You should have won
for sure. But I mean, if for nothing else, because it really was a precursor for us seeing a lot of like the people that are at like the top of these pillars. Like the very top of these pillars crumble because of a lack of ethics and thinking that shit wasn't going to catch up to them, regardless of how long ago that shit was. Because a lot of it what's really ironic is a lot of the cards that are being pulled right now are accusations from when we was all growing up as kids. And it's like they felt like, oh, I'm ascending so much that this ascension is going to end up insulating me, and then they be trying to act like they got white privilege with the shit. And it's like, and even for real, for a lot of these white people too, it's up for them right now also, because it's just like everybody, like to your point, there's a lower tolerance for it because they realize like the predatory nature is really just taken away from like a quality of life where people can actually appreciate this shit for what it really is.
Well, I think all that industry stuff is just a basis of this country. Like our country was built off country was built off of slavery, immigration, and workers and shit like that. So the people that we idolized, they built off corruption. So people we idolized was only doing stuff that they seen our country be built out of that's been in there for years.
And because it is the foundation of this nation is successful.
The thing that's fucking up now is now these niggas making too much money.
Yeah.
And the niggas who started like,
they never intended for you niggas to be billionaires.
Making too much money now. You making money where you can change people of your color. Now when that shit start happening now, it's like, no. We gotta bring you back down a little bit. Because most of these niggas who gonna get caught up on that, they're not gonna do no jail time. They gonna pay shit out and they gonna have to do community service and they just gonna take some of your money.
Matt Gates.
Take some of your money.
Like you said, you've been real this whole time, but now the realness, like she said, the realest back is becoming the gatekeepers again. Before the fake was the gatekeepers.
Yeah.
They was at the top letting you in and out the door.
As
real artists, you wouldn't stand for certain things, you're not getting that look. Exactly. But now
that's why Kendrick is so popular.
But now the real,
because it's a real nigga running shit again.
The clout, quote unquote clout, is coming to the ones that's real because people need to know what real look like.
For sure.
And they way hungry for what real look like. What does that lifestyle look like? So we seeking out for realism. And now y'all gonna be the gatekeepers at the door of.
I got a controversial take. Is this a place to do it?
It is.
Oh yeah.
There's no better
like
place.
You gonna yell at me though.
I'm interested.
Here's my controversial take. I think Ted, I say this all the time.
Everybody brace yourself.
Niggas mad at Drake for doing what Tupac did.
How you figure, soldier?
Explain it. Elaborate that.
Kendrick
and I want to hear your opinion on this.
Kendrick whole thing. If I'm not mistaken, correct me because I listen, but I ain't deep research.
Fair enough.
Kendrick whole thing behind it was Drake has stolen so much of our stuff and culture vulture made it our own. But they love Tupac on the West Coast. Tupac not from the West Coast.
Sure. Definitely.
Tupac is not from any of that life that they praise him for.
But
so with that being said, Tupac was an actor. He went to the West Coast and adopted that lifestyle, and he made uplifting songs for us. He's a great artist. But I could say Drake did that same thing. I could say Drake came to these different cultures. He took artists that otherwise wouldn't have made it, put them on this, gave them this platform,
right?
While still being we all know him to be. He's just more upfront with he know he the actor. He know he the nigga who came from the grassy. He know he's this guy that go around and make hits based off of, I'm gonna talk Jamaican and Canadian, all that type of stuff.
Which is so weird, by the way. Pick an accent. If you want to see this, pick a fucking accent. I'm sick of it. Like, I'm sick of this shit. Nigga, pick one.
Even with that argument, Tupac was an actor.
Yeah.
Our people loved him as an actor because he acted for the right cause. He uplifted to others. Still black woman.
Agreed.
You know what I'm saying?
Agreed.
So, like you said, he made uplifting music. He was a revolutionary at heart. Mom was a black grandma, so that you couldn't fake that.
Agreed.
So, what we needed, especially in that time, wasn't revolutionary. Drake ain't nowhere close to a revolutionary. That's why people was praising Kendrick now because he took on a Tupac as attitude with being revolutionary. After industry, the party must die.
Gotcha. Nisho, let me get your opinion on that. I'm curious.
I can agree with that.
And I'm a chime in, but I really am interested in Nisho's perspective on this. That was good. That was good.
Touche. Well, you actually hit the point I was really gonna say, because the ultimate thing between Drake and Tupac, we knew stood for something, regardless of like I genuinely didn't know Tupac wasn't from the West Coast. I genuinely didn't know that.
He's from Baltimore.
Yeah.
For sure. Went to high school with Jada.
Yeah, that's why.
My mother taught that.
Performing art school with Jada. That's how you met her.
That makes sense.
Carry on.
So yeah, but we've known, for all of us that came up listening to Tupac, we've known him for being both like hood ass nigga, but at the same time uplifting, revolutionary. Like that was like the big difference, like how people always debated Tupac and Biggie. Like Biggie, we know that nigga can rap. Tupac, he could rap, but he was more of a revolutionary, making another different type of shit. Fast forward, Drake, Kendrick. It's very clear the gap between Drake and Kendrick cannot be further apart.
Why?
Because Kendrick, overall artistry, like him and Drake are close, literally. Because Kendrick, like everybody said, like he's so central in like repping the West Coast, being uplifting, giving genuine stories. And then Drake, we've only genuinely known him for adopting other people's shit, not necessarily seeing him. And the one line that I've always taken away from the whole Kendrick shit, the one line that stuck with me: take that mask off. I want to see what you look like without them achievements. Well, I believe you. You gave us nothing to believe in. I'm like, that's literally Drake's whole career. Literally. Because like, if we're gonna be honest about it, we've only seen Drake in like the beginning. Like in the very beginning of his career, like maybe
like authentic Aubrey Graham type shit.
Like comeback season Thank Me Later. That's probably the closest we ever got ever in his entire career.
As far as the real him.
Yes. Other than that, like
it's been an act. Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
So here's my take on it, right? That was controversial. That was good. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. I take back all the shit I said. Well, not all of it, but some of it.
Okay, back nothing.
No, I'm lying. I mean what the fuck I said. But look, so look, right. I think that Mello has raised an amazing point, right? And I agree with all of the with all of the opinions that have come forward. Here's why it's different. Right. And I think really Lecrae is who said it best. Right. Fan of the culture versus product of the culture. Right. Tupac comes from poverty, racism, right? Indisputable hurt and pain. Mother went to jail. Crack fiend. Godfather went to jail. Assada's godson. He really, with all of the acting, which is true, he is still very much an example of what it is to be a product of the culture. And in my mind, maybe one of the last great examples of product of the culture, because this is somebody who was going in to meetings with Muslims and advising, like, you all are not considering the opinion of the youth, and that's why you can't reach them. Right. So what I'm giving you is not like you're trying to make it seem like I'm just talking about bitches and drinks and money and I don't care about anything. But that's really the shtick that I'm using to hook them into what the real message is, which is upliftment and loving yourself. And he can only give that message because he is a direct product of those Baltimore streets, of having a mother who's an addict who found her way out of that, which is very difficult, by the way, nearly impossible. And most addicts never do it. A product of, not all, right? But I think like addicts who become members of the movement are rare. That's the whole reason that drugs were placed into our communities in the first place. The point of it is to destroy you so that you're never able to come back from it. It only exists in our neighborhoods because of that, because it is meant to destroy you for the rest of your life and then to destroy your children because you weren't there to raise them, and they become products of the same streets that they put those same drugs in. So the difference to me between a Tupac and a Drake, while both actors, while both pretending to be something that they never were fully, while both pretending to be a version of themselves, the difference is that Tupac is a product of the streets that we come from, the environments that we come from, the hell and the poverty and the hurt and the pain that we come from. Right? He knew a real Brenda. That's where that song came from. That to me is the major difference. The difference is that you cannot ever give the message that comes from a Tupac if you are not a product of these environments because you just don't know it well enough. Drake, on the other hand, blickies and running up on niggas and F-fans, and you don't know shit, boy. You are a product of a wealthy environment. And we're not gonna get into the other part of that. You know what I'm saying? We ain't trying to get canceled today. But guess what? All the real niggas know what the fuck I'm talking about. And that's my point. I don't even have to say it for every nigga in this room to know what I can't say. And that's the difference between you and me.
But are we listening to Drake for that? Like, am I listening to Drake because I want to be uplifted? I'm not listening, but that's what I'm saying though.
Your desire doesn't change the outcome.
I agree.
Or the damage that it does.
I think that we get,
and especially when your co-audience don't look like nobody sitting in this chair. When 60 to 70% of your audience is people who don't look like us, and this is your representation of our community, they don't know that that's not what you out here to do. That's damaging.
You think Drake represent our community? I don't think he.
I think that them white folks think that he do, and that's the problem. Because you're not a representative of us, but you're telling these white kids in suburbia who have no real idea of who we are, of the pride and the greatness that comes from people that look like us. You telling them that F-fans and bitches and parties and coke and pills, that's who we are. And that's the motherfucking problem, is that you are a representative, whether you want to be or not. And you're a representative to people who have no real idea what this culture or community looks like. And you're only giving them one part of it. How dare you speak for me when you only know 10% of what it's all about because you don't come from any of it? It's a goddamn insult. You are a pretender, and I hope you see this shit. Fuck that nigga.
Responsibility as an artist is important because whether we want it or not, we all have a certain level of influence that we carry with us. And specifically when you're talking about Drake, Yes, whether if he wants it or not. It's the Michael Jordan effect, right? Because Michael Jordan's biggest thing was, although I'm the most influential basketball player, I'm not really going to get into the politics of politics. There you go. As much as you would want to try to not intentionally claim that because you just in the sport because you love the sport, the reality of it is much bigger than that, whether if it's something that you willingly embrace or not. Because it's like, especially when you talk about being an artist or whatever, like the core part of what artistry is in America anyway was built off of the backs of Black people. So it's like when you talk about like, is he a representation of us? Like the best parts of what makes music across all genres pop came from us. So inherently, when you take up that mantle, especially being a derivative of it, even if he's not fully claiming it or whatever the case is, you come from that tree. So they going to look at you a certain way. And especially the more success you have, the more they're just going to arbitrarily associate with you with the greater population of wherever it is that you come from. Like we all like as much as you'd be like, yeah, that's not something that you would want to have happen. We do it the same way to other people from other races, where it's like you look at the Asian community, like you'll pinpoint certain individuals where it'd be like someone as distinct as Yao Ming or Jackie Chan or Bruce Lee or something like that, and then like we'll form our own understandings or like stereotypes or whatever just based off of those general figures, not accounting for the fact that like the diaspora for them goes a lot deeper than that in terms of just like what their real culture is, to the point that Mia made. Because it's like, yeah, you only showing one part of it, but if you want to do that, you have to have a certain level of responsibility in terms of knowing that when you're showing that, you gotta be accountable for showing the whole picture instead of just one small facet of it, because then people get things misconstrued.
Agreed.
So is that a artist thing or is that a society thing? Because
it's a bit of both.
What it sounds like to me is like coming from a person who can distinguish what music I can let influence me or I listen to. Is like somebody, that's why I said somebody like Drake don't represent my culture and where I'm from. But at the same time, Tupac might not either, even though it might be some stuff I can connect with. But he might not represent totally where I'm from, no, but especially being somebody from my city. Because you got to remember, when he was from my city, he wasn't Tupac. So when he had the crackhead mama and all this, he wasn't Tupac.
He was still Tupac.
He was Shakur. He was him. So that's what I'm saying. Is it a society thing of knowing like, hey, like these things don't influence me? I can look at Drake and distinguish whether he's representing me or not from what he's saying, like almost to know, like now that we know what the music industry is, I'm not taking his raps half as seriously.
But see, that's the thing. You a grown ass Black man. These 14-year-old kids of other races and cultures are not quite able to make that distinction. And that is your core audience. So whether you like it or not, there's a responsibility there. Now, whether or not you take on that responsibility, which he clearly did not, and that's the problem that Kendrick is raising, is a different issue entirely. We're not talking about like what you actually do or even what you should be doing. We're talking about what happens. And the reality is that he is a representative of our culture and communities to those children. And he's a poor one. That's the issue that I think Kendrick has. We're not saying, I'm not debating right or wrong. I don't look at life in grays. And I was a Drake stan before all of this. So I'm not debating right or wrong here. And I'm not going to do that because that would make me a hypocrite because I was a Drake fan. But because I'm able to distinguish, for me, it's all entertainment. So I feel exactly what you're saying and exactly where you're coming from. It is all entertainment to me. I never looked at him as like no leader among men or a hero to our people. That was never his point. He is party music. And that is Kendrick's point. Yes. Keep making me dance, waving my hands, and it won't be no. Stick to what you know. Don't get me talking about guns and all of this shit that you don't know nothing about.
And even when Drake was doing that, like when he's talking about guns and stuff, I gave him some leeway because when you get to a certain level, you all come across having mob meetings and you seeing certain stuff. So you can rap about that. Cool. But over his career, I did see a bunch of different characters, which is cool. Keep making me party and dance. But when you get compared to the goats of this stuff, now it's different, you know.
And this is why you're not them.
That's my only distinction. So, because Tupac, for a degree, yeah, went to the West Coast, but I really did get influenced by the West Coast culture. This is what I'm repping them because prior music, I gave shout out to New York, to the East Coast, the old school. That record, the old school, that was all New York. He was giving praise to. But the West Coast embraced them, took them in. So yeah, he just loyal to a fault to that culture.
Sure.
So on that aspect, that acting role, I don't really like that narrative of just him being an actor of the character because Rick Ross, that's a character.
For sure.
This is your character. You know what I'm saying? This guy right here, if you're a character for something that's greater than you, and you probably don't even realize.
For sure. And you know what? I think this is actually a perfect segue, right? Because like so much of the conversation around music from our area specifically is that like we don't have a sound and that like there's no like real like understanding of like kind of music that comes from here. And I think like we have 3 different artists with 3 completely different kinds of music sitting here before us that I think represent a lot of what comes out of this area, right? So I'm gonna start with you, Nisha. When you look at the music that you're creating and the responsibility that we're discussing is like naturally built in to what you're creating, whether or not you want that responsibility, whether or not you're willing to take up that mantle, when you reach a certain point and level in your career, that responsibility exists. Is that something that you consider when you're making like kind of the soul music that you create? And if so, like, does it impact the way that you create things?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when I say this quote really made me look at how I see so many different artists, not even just from here, but in general, like, I don't know how many people familiar with the Nina Simone quote, "The artist's responsibilities to reflect the times." And every artist don't want to reflect the times. That's just what it is. Like, people don't want that responsibility. Like, and I'll never forget this shit. It was an A$AP Rocky interview that went around like years ago. He was like, "Man, I ain't trying to talk about that revolutionary shit. I just want to talk about fucking bitches, fashion, art." I'm like, okay, cool, stay in lane. Because I know for me, I came up with a mother who was very much in education and like learning so many different things and invoking knowledge. My pops, like, heavy music head, heavy influence on like how, if we're gonna be honest, like my music now. And those things I don't take lightly. So it's like, y'all gonna hear me talk on my introspective shit. You're gonna hear me talk on like, all right, look, I'm gonna talk to several people who've had wild ass stories about just dating or like going through trauma, going through grief. Like, y'all gonna get all that shit in my music because it's the reflection of everything around me. And like for me, I'm like, y'all gonna hear my shit. It might not be in like the all meetings, it might not be in like the hold you down, but it's like y'all deep dive in my shit. Y'all gonna hear my story more and more clearly, and that's from the reflection of everything around me. So I do feel like that responsibility. Yeah, I'm gonna easily take that up on my music.
Okay, fair enough. Mello, same question to you, because I feel like your music follows like maybe a more traditional template for maybe like kind of what everybody is doing. Not that you're not special or unique in your own way, of course, but I think like it's a more traditional path than maybe like kind of what Nisho is doing with something more introspective, what Steven is doing with something a little more alternative. So when you create, because you just said that like, is that an artist or a societal responsibility? Yeah. So is that something that you consider at all?
Well, for me, it kind of depends on who I'm making the song for. Like when I make certain songs, I try to envision where I see this song going, whether it's in the club, whether it's in a bar, whether it's in your headphone, whether it's in the car. But I really just I'm trying to cuss less. And like we talked about your mom, my mom's was in education as well. And like she used to always get on me because she used to hear bitch in my songs. So over the years, I have took bitch out. But as I've taken words out, I've also learned like sometimes, you gotta say what you feel. And what I'm around, like we talked about double cup earlier, like how I had it with me all the time. I was in college, I had double cup, I was sipping. That's what I'm gonna rap about. I got bitches that ain't shit. That's what the fuck I'm gonna rap about. So, but I think what goes into it is how I say it now, how I put it together, how I reach certain artists I want to. But like, I think music is off of who you are. Like, who am I? What do I like? What do I know? What do I see? That's what most of my music comes from, is like what I see, what have I experienced, what have I heard. And, I come from both realms. I come from the hood, the bottom, but I had parents who was like, you're going to get your education. So I've seen both sides, and I've seen both stereotypes of each side mingle. It's these smart ass motherfuckers who we think don't do no good. Nah, they tricking and paying for shit too and doing shit we would think only the hood niggas doing. But I know hood niggas who opening up gyms and opening up different things. So I can talk about whatever, but like, I think with me, what goes into my music really first is like, to be honest, is first like flow. I think about my flow and how I'm going to capture you. Then I think about what I'm going to say. Cause then that's the second thing, because like you said, the music that I do make is more popular than the individualized music y'all might make that's really good. So for me to make music that I might sound like another rapper, how I'm gonna make myself sound different, how I'm gonna make myself talk different. Like, I'm from the hood, but I don't never talk about dealing with dope and selling drugs, even though I know that lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? I make money. I don't talk about blowing money on bits, but because that's not what I do. But also being a figurehead in the community as well, and things that I do got to make sure I watch how I talk, but I gotta be real too. You know what I'm saying? You know me, if you sitting around me, I've sat around me before. When I talk like this and you play my music, I want you to be like, oh, that's bar. That's bar mellow. Like, he sound like that. So it's a mix between staying true to who I am, but also making sure that I am pushing out the right, I would say, I don't want to say message, because like I said, like we go back, I feel like if you are someone who's listening to music and you're solely depending your message on this, you've been lost a long way before you got to music. But if you can listen to music and be I guess it's to be inspired in the right way. You know what I'm saying? Like, when I'm hearing my favorite rappers, like when some people listen to Future, I love Future, but I don't love Future for the normal reason everybody else talk about, which is like down and bitch, all that. That nigga be popping his shit. He be living his life. He live the way he want to live. That's how I want to live. So I think it's inspiring and in the correct way, but also watching what you say and how you say it too, and just really talking about who you are. Like, you still got to be real to a certain extent.
Okay, fair enough. Steven?
To kind of piggyback off of his point, a lot of what I do with my art really starts and stops with the level of authenticity that's going on from me and my personal experience. I feel like artists, whether they realize it or not, project themselves to where their music is literally their direct extension of who they are on a conscious and subconscious level. I also do a lot to try to be mindful of, like, to the point that I made to kind of like get us into this topic in the first place, just be mindful of the fact that we will inherently have extra eyes and extra attention that's on us for making the choice to be in this position in the first place. Because of me understanding that just from being a student before I started actually like being a contributor to the culture, like that's the other reason why like I also try to be super mindful of how I present myself. Like, I think one of the things I really appreciated recently and being out, and I was like popping up at like a cypher or something, just like freestyle. And there's a difference between like live freestyle performances and songwriting, but still the core consistency of presenting myself in a way where like I can do the things to style and show who I am as a person, but it's not to belittle or undermine other people who are going through certain things, whether if it's women in a certain demographic who want to feel safe, whether if it's other MCs that feel like it's like a dick measuring contest every time. Like, you can do that from like a competitive skill, like a skill perspective, but not doing it to where you're just like completely being dismissive of other people and their standpoints and their vantage points. And it's like, for me personally, I think it's important for you to have that be at the core of whatever it is you should do more than anything else, because that goes into the idea of like the ethics of who you are as a person being like the biggest part of your branding. And it's like, I feel like you can talk about whatever it is that you want to talk about from a subject matter because it's artistic expression. You can do all those things. But if you underneath all those things carry yourself with a certain level of reverence and stature, you know what I'm saying, in terms of like respect for yourself and your peers that are in that same space, I feel like that's the biggest thing that you gotta be mindful of when it comes to like how you present yourself in this space, because it's always open to interpretation. And the only thing that you can really try to do is give your best self as much as you can. And sometimes that's not necessarily talking about what would be considered classified as like a positive subject matter, because life is not just all roses and dandelions and a crystal stair. Like, you gotta be able to have that depth to give different standpoints and deliver different subject matters. But like I said, talking about it, but then saying that you personally embody it to the point where that's like your temperament, that's kind of where the line gets blurry and it gets murky. And then you start to get to the discussion of kind of like where Drake is right now, where it's like, okay, you're making all this music that seems to objectively have a really great impact. But when you say that, yeah, this is me, this is me, this is me, it's like, is it really? You know,
and I think that's where the problem really began. It's like this pretending that this is who you actually are instead of acknowledging
you ain't gotta lie, bro.
You're playing.
I mean, it's just a difference. It's just the question I always ask: are you a hip hop artist or rap artist? It's two different. I think Drake is a rap artist. Pop is a hip hop artist because you like he said something about the telling your times. Like Kendrick over this past year, he was the theme music for 2024. He spoke the time. But I think of Marvin Gaye when the times that song came up,
Trouble.
What's going on? Yeah.
So it's a difference between, I think, for me, just hip hop artists and the rap artists, and it's both is cool, but sometimes, like you said, the lines get blurry now because now we starting to compare rap artists to hip hop artists. I think they should be in the different lanes. You know?
Yeah, for sure. And you know what? We're gonna end it right there, man. So we had a great show on the You Weren't There podcast. This probably be one of my favorites. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you follow the podcast at You Weren't There on Instagram and TikTok. And of course, make sure you follow me, your host, at Mia Was Here, 5_. We're gonna start with you, Steven, go around the circle and close it out.
Appreciate you firstly for having me. I feel so special now. I am Steven X. That's Steven with a V for all the folks that are phonetically challenged. Steven with a V. I am Steven X 1_. It's on all the streaming platforms.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for having me. I felt like this was like counseling for me a little bit. I needed it. So, you know, you probably had a lot of that shit on your mind for a long time. But thank you for having me. This is a great experience. This is a great, vibe. I'm your boy Barmello at BARMELO_ and everything. So once again, just thank you for having me here and, allow me to come express my opinion with some wonderful, wonderful people. So I really, really appreciate y'all.
Absolutely.
Well, you already know how I feel. This is a long time coming. I'm glad to be here amongst amazing people, as always. IG's Nisho Soul Music, NISHOSOUL Music, streaming platforms, Nisho Soul, same thing. Yeah, appreciate it.
Chaz, close this out.
All right, man, you already know what it is. Another great episode. Thank y'all for coming through. I am Chaz DL at Chaz DL on all platforms. And, as always, make sure you go get that. The Bird by the Door audio book that's out now. Check it out. Mia, take us on.
Make sure y'all download the music of every artist sitting right here. Go to their social media. Go get them albums, man. We got to be helpers of one another. That's the point of all of this. You Weren't There podcast signing out. We appreciate y'all.